Asif Hamidullah, who is Head of Certification, IoT and Verticals at the Global Certification Forum. In this capacity, Asif is driving the short and longer term technology roadmaps for various IoT product certification programs, including 1M2M, Automotive CV2X, IoT Security, amongst others. In addition to this role at GCF, Asif is also active in the industry promoting wireless technologies and services in growth markets such as India, China and Africa. And he's also been involved in helping several major operators and manufacturers to enter new markets. With the explosion of IoT technologies and consumer connected products now being an integral part of everyday life, it's imperative that the industry actively addresses all aspects of security. Standards and testing requirements are still in the early stages of adoption and enforcement, and GCF works with key industry partners to put security at the top of the agenda throughout the entire supply chain. Asif's presentation today looks at how to enable certification for IoT verticals with accreditation for all consumer IoT products, and a look at the roadmap to enterprise IoT products themselves. So Asif, it's over to you.
Thank you very much, Joe. And hello, everyone. My name is Asif Hamidullah from the Global Certification Forum. At the GCF, I'm responsible for leading the certification activities for various IoT programs and GCF supports for new verticals. And I'm very happy to be here today to talk to you about the upcoming launch of the GCF Consumer IoT Security Accreditation Program. Before we get into the details, I'd like to share a little bit with you about the GCF. We are a nonprofit organization founded in 1999, whose members are some of the Tier 1 global mobile network operators, device manufacturers, test labs, test equipment vendors, and other participants from the industry. Currently, we have over 300 plus member companies worldwide, all working together to develop the certification criteria for mobile devices and IoT products. And GCF is globally recognized as providing the quality mark for the interoperability of devices with the network. Our certification is based on test specifications defined by various standards development organizations, or SDOs, including 3GPP and their partner members like ETSI, as well as 1M2M, GSMA, OMA, NFC, and the CTIA. More recently, we have engaged with other industry organizations from various different verticals in the IoT space to ensure we're able to address some of the needs and requirements for product certification in those specific areas. So this slide just highlights some of our industry partners that we work very closely with. Obviously, we have a very close relationship with 3GPP, as the core GCF certification program is based on 3GPP RAN 5 work items. As we moved over from 3G, 4G, and now to 5G, we are also developing a very close relationship, and we have had a close relationship with GSMA. And we have based our field trial certification on their TS11 spec, as well as recently we had launched our standalone eSIM certification, which was jointly developed with them. We have a partnership with 1M2M in a similar 1M2M standalone certification offering, and in recent times we have been closely engaged with 5G AA for Automotive CV2X certification, TCCA for mission critical, and other organizations like the 450 Alliance. Okay. So with respect to certification, GCF has a very streamlined three-step process to certify a product, labeled Test, Certify, Connect. Step 1, or test, is when a manufacturer member brings their product to a GCF-recognized test organization, or RTO, identifying what features and functionality that product supports. Working with an assessment-capable entity, the manufacturer would determine what specific test cases needs to be executed in a conformance, field, and/or interoperability test environment for the certification of the product, and then having the applicable tests executed at the RTO's facility. Once the testing is done, the manufacturer moves on to step 2, or certify. This is where they make an online declaration for their product complying to all of the underlying requirements and tests needed to achieve certification, and provides evidence of conformity, i.e. the test results. Once the declaration is uploaded, the product is considered certified. The certification process is available 24/7, 365 days a year, so the manufacturer can submit their declaration at their leisure and also choose to decide when the certification information is made public. And the great news is that the GCF doesn't charge any certification fee for a manufacturer to certify a product. The manufacturer can certify one product or multiple products in a given calendar year, and the only fees they pay to GCF is their annual membership fees. The third step, or connect, is when a declaration has been made and the product is considered certified. The manufacturer can now take that product and commercialize it anywhere in the world where GCF certification is accepted. So while the GCF has been focused in the past on 3G, 4G, and obviously now 5G certification for mobile devices such as smartphones, tablets, etc., we know that in this ever-changing landscape, there are more and more different types of connected products coming onto mobile networks. And the next frontier for certification is really in the IoT space. So the GCF has been preparing to extend its state-of-the-art certification program framework to support multiple new verticals. And these are for devices that can be connected to someone's home, at a large-scale industrial IoT space, or smart city-enabled type of product. We are all familiar with the projected growth of IoT. I believe the statistic of 25 billion connected devices by 2025 has been projected by the industry, and cellular IoT making up a significant chunk of these connections. We also have newer technologies helping this trend, including AI, machine learning, and big data analytics that make many of the service providers are looking to capitalize on to understand their target markets. This makes security all the more important to consider, as there will be many more connected interfaces that share user data across multiple platforms, and ensuring these interfaces and platforms are secure and protected, and making sure that the user information is protected is going to be paramount. So with respect to IoT security, GCF has been working with its members over the past 9 months to develop a consumer IoT security accreditation program that begins to address some of these security issues mentioned earlier. In phase 1, the program is being offered as a self-accreditation program that requires the manufacturer to submit a security compliance declaration that covers the top 3 security provisions as defined in ETSI's AN 303645 standard. These include no universal default passwords, implementing a means to manage and report vulnerabilities, and to keep software updated. For each of these provisions, additional details on the compliance and associated information are required to be provided. Over time, the GCF will look to add additional provisions as the standards mature, and also investigate the use of third-party testing to verify conformance. For GCF, some of our key objectives with such a program is to ensure that consumers who are purchasing these connected products have a minimum level of security that is considered in their design and development. Similarly, we want to also make sure that the service providers are not impacted negatively due to rogue products accessing wireless networks. And of course, governments worldwide are taking security very seriously, and we at the GCF want to ensure that industry is one step ahead of any form of regulation that enters the market by aligning on these requirements. Overall, we feel that having both the integrity of the device and the network in perspective will allow for a better service experience for all parties involved. So the way the program will work is as follows. The accreditation scheme will be offered to any product manufacturer, regardless of whether they're a GCF member or not. It is completely independent of the core GCF certification scheme. The declaration is targeted for any consumer IoT product supporting any underlying IoT technology, not just products supporting 3GPP-based technologies. We have developed a dedicated web portal that will contain all the information and outline the steps required to undergo certification. This includes signing a GCF user agreement, downloading the Consumer IoT Security Procedures document, and submitting a completed declaration form. The GCF office will review the declarations, and successful declarations will be posted on the public portal. And this listing will include product information and its level of compliance. This slide just shows an overall process flow of how the transaction will occur between the various process elements. As you can see, there will be a fee charged for non-members to undergo the accreditation, but it will be available for free for GCF members. The revenues from the service will be used to upkeep the program and be used to fund phase 2 of the program development. This slide just showcases how the dedicated web portal will look and the various options available to the public to view details of the program. The portal will be up and running later this month and when the service goes live. We would encourage you to visit globalcertificationforum.org to find out more details about this program. As I mentioned earlier, the products that are going under the accreditation will be listed online, and this is an example of how the listing will look. The details will contain the GCF reference number, date of accreditation, the manufacturer name, product model, URL to where more information regarding the product can be found, a public point of contact at the manufacturer, and the compliance version, as well as the date when the latest update to the declaration was made. And lastly, the compliance details. This will highlight out of the 3 provisions which ones are supported and associated details regarding those. From a timeline perspective, we are targeting launch of the service later in this year. All of the main design and implementation deliverables have been completed, and we're now in the process of informing industry of the service such as at this event and other upcoming events as well, where we will be communicating the development of this program. Looking forward, the GCF has already started discussions on evolution of the program as part of its Phase 2 initiative. Some of the aspects we're investigating include expanding the scope of accreditation to encompass additional security provisions in the EN 303645 standard. We're also monitoring the development of the ETSI 103701 test specification, which looks and serves as a baseline for conformity assessment to this 303645 standard. We'll look to see if our third-party testing programs can be leveraged to incorporate testing of the standard and its applicability for Phase 2. And there's also been a lot of discussion on whether we should expand the scope to cover not just consumer devices, but enterprise IoT products as well. And that is something that we'll be looking at more closely. As with all of our programs, the GCF invites interested parties to get in touch with us. If you'd like to collaborate in the space, industry feedback is very important to us, and it's the mechanism by which we will use to refine the program to ensure it meets the ongoing needs. So please feel free to get in touch with us to work on this together further. Lastly, I'd like to share with you some of the upcoming industry events GCF will be participating at. We are hosting the GCF MENA workshop taking place virtually on the 23rd and 24th of November. We're also exhibiting at the GSM Latin America Thrive event, the 1st to 3rd December, and the India Mobile Congress, 8th to 10th December. At each of these events, we'll be discussing and sharing information on our key products, including device certification and IoT security accreditation. And we invite you to register and join us to explore further the progress of some of these programs we're supporting. You can also connect with us on social media and the web, which is a great way to stay in touch and keep abreast of the latest and greatest that the GCF is offering. So I'd like to thank you all again for giving me this opportunity to speak about our IoT security program, and special thanks to the folks at Electronica for putting this together in this event. If you have any questions or would like further information about the program, I will be part of the Q&A session just following this, and of course you can contact me directly. My contact details are listed here on the slide, and I would be more than happy to answer your queries. And of course, please feel free to visit our website for more information. Thanks, and hopefully everybody stays safe. Back to you, Joe.
Thanks, Asif. Really interesting presentation. A great way to round off our IoT security session. That concludes the formal part of today's proceedings, but now it's the turn of the audience to get involved. So if you have any questions for Asif, as he said, he's going to be available for the Q&A, or if you have any questions for any of the earlier speakers, please submit them, and we'll endeavour to get them answered as we kick off the Q&A, which will start now. However, before we start the Q&A, I'd just like to give thanks to our sponsor of today's forums, Mouser Electronics, who are a worldwide leading authorized distributor of semiconductors and electronic components, serving over 800 industry-leading manufacturers. Mouser specialize in rapid introduction of new products and technologies for design engineers and buyers, and their extensive product offering includes semiconductors, interconnects, passives, and electromechanical components. So to kick off into the Q&A and perhaps head off back to the beginning, to kick off with you, Sharon, perhaps. Obviously, the IoT has grown exponentially over the last few years. So what do you see as being, or how do you see the hacking threats evolving over that time period?
Oh, hello everyone. Can everybody hear me well?
Yeah, coming through loud and clear, Sharon.
Loud and clear. Awesome. so hacking threats and the trends that we see. So I think as manufacturers, companies, I guess, and consumers are starting to implement some of the security best practices and guidance that we've been actually presenting here, and the industry has been telling them to consider practices like, eliminating default passwords and ensuring interfaces are secure and encrypted, implementing secure software updates, and so on. I think the attackers have been going after the next set of low-hanging fruit from an attack surface perspective. So, for example, the hackers are now rarely interested in brute forcing their way through data encryption. What they really want to do is get at the encryption keys that are cached in RAM and stored in flash, and that's what they want to do. And that's something that's starting to get very easy and simple for them to do when you consider they have access in IoT to physical access to the device, and the attack techniques are readily available. I mean, it's been commoditized. And we see a lot of novel and hard attacks involving side channel, differential power analysis, glitching, etc. It's proliferating because there's growing automation, and there's even application of machine learning techniques, and it makes the whole process, a lot more efficient and rapid for the attackers. So we see many integrated SoCs that are still very susceptible and vulnerable to these forms of attack, and it's an issue of risk depending on the type of application where these integrated circuits are used. And in other cases, we definitely see a focus on attacks involving network interfaces and protocols. Again, it's a matter of practicality and convenience for the attackers. It's really comfortable for them to sit far away from their target and basically, hack at leisure wireless interfaces using, a lot of tools and techniques. And they're becoming a lot less expensive because of software-defined radios and, again, commoditization of tools. So they're going after Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, and other protocols in the sub-gigahertz domain, 802.15, etc. Basically, what that means is that device makers have to start focusing on hardening and securing the wireless stacks from an implementation perspective and ensure that the protocols are well designed. Up until now, this hasn't really been a priority. And they also have to make sure that from a hardware perspective, the solution integrates countermeasures for preventing a lot of the physical types of attacks that we're seeing now happening. And again, this is also becoming really important in a lot of the interoperability forums. Security is bubbling up. We see efforts like the industry interoperability forums like Connected Home over IP or CHIP. It's more relevant in the home automation area where security, and specific requirements of preventing a lot of these attacks are becoming more important and play a more important role.